Hello and welcome to Merlin's Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, new LEGO Ideas entries, we have actually quite a few today, and general industry news from time to time as well. Today, for instance, we are going to talk about recent LEGO Group revenue numbers from first half of this year. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. As always, in alphabetical order, we will start with BlueBrixx. Actually, most of the news is today. Again, from this brand, these guys are quite busy and quite active. Lots of new announcements and availabilities, but we have a little bit of LEGO as well. So let's get started. So the first announcement is the 105651, the Roman Atrium Domus, or Atrium Domus, depending on how you want to pronounce that. It's Latin, so we have actually no idea how to pronounce this, to my knowledge. Anyhow, Domus, that basically means it's like a regular home, maybe of like an upper class family. And it has an atrium in the center. This specific one here has 3,261 pieces. It's 30 by 53 centimeters and 14 centimeters high, i.e. it's minifigure scale, I would argue. It's designed by Matteo from the BlueBrixx team. In general, BlueBrixx has recently announced and actually already released a couple of Roman sets in architecture scale, like micro and nano scale. For instance, the Forum Romanum, but also a Colosseum is announced. But this one here, again, is a different animal because it is in a different scale. And as you can see, you have multiple rooms in there, like sleeping rooms. You have like a small garden, and of course, in the center, the atrium. Personally, I'm really quite fond of this design. I also like the roof design. It is simple, but I think it's doing the trick by means of having this Roman look and feel. So in general, for all of those of you who are big fans of that area and maybe already have a couple of LEGO minifigures in that scale, I mean, this could be awesome, right? We had a minifigure series 6, if I recall correctly. We had Legionnaires, we had Gladiator, I think, in number 17, minifigure series 17. And I think there's quite a bunch of LEGO minifigures as well, in addition, also civilian ones. I think a lot of, like, for instance, I don't know, like Princess Leia dresses could work quite well as Roman dresses, or if you have a couple of like elven minifigures, stuff like that. I think LEGO has done officially Roman minifigures. In addition, there's quite a few, I think, throughout the lineup that could work quite well, especially on the female side. On the male side, you have to see, but I think there's a lot of minifigures that will fit quite well into this. Really looking forward to the set. Big fan of Roman history, so this is going to be awesome. Another announcement is actually, I'm not sure if I would call that awesome. It's quite a funny one. They call it the Unicorn Wonder Garden. It's a 105435, 1027 pieces. We don't know much actually. BlueBrixx is listing this as a Xingbao set, but they have given it a BlueBrixx number. So this might be one of these collaborations that they do a lot. Like I think they call it Xingbao for BlueBrixx. It could also be a BlueBrixx Pro. Many BlueBrixx Pro sets are actually manufactured by Xingbao. So I think we have to wait and see. But yeah, here we have this unicorn set. I guess it's targeted for kids, but yeah, it's not really my cup of tea, to be honest, but quite nice. However, looking forward, this one here is much more my thing. The 105655, also an announcement, the medieval charcoal burner camp, 1103 pieces. It's 43 by 45 centimeters and 12.5 height. However, it's a collection of multiple pieces. And it's designed by Martin. That's the typical designer at BlueBrixx that is doing most of the medieval stuff. So Martin has done, of course, he's doing Blaustein Castle. He's, I guess, currently working on the medieval bakery, but also he has done, many of the medieval sets like Medieval Farmhouse, the Golden Goblet Inn, one of my most beloved medieval sets of all time. So anyhow, he's also now working on this piece. I guess that is the next one after the bakery. And of course, I do hope that he's still working on Blaustein Castle. Speaking of such, just as a quick reminder, I've built the whole extension of Blaustein Castle recently. We are now at 17,000 pieces, and I have also done a speed build. So if you're interested, I mean, I guess not many of you have ever built a set with 17,000 pieces. Obviously, the speed build is just on this one extension, which is only 5,000 pieces. But nevertheless, if you're interested in that, I've done a speed build, so please take a look. It has a couple of unique, let's say, concepts in it. So for instance, it starts with, I think, like 60 building steps of removing parts. We had this in the last extension as well. So it's you're not just adding a module, but you're actually changing the build. And then, of course, upgrading it from 12K pieces to 17K was quite a challenge, but also a lot of fun. I mean, it was very, very interesting. And plus, I mean, if you look at this picture, I mean, the result speaks for itself. It's just an amazing piece, this castle is. Anyhow, now Martin is working on this one. I think it's quite an interesting one. Actually, I'm living in southern Germany, close to Black Forest. And if you're going hiking in the Black Forest, there's a lot of these things still. I mean, obviously nowadays you can't see much. It's all wood and etc. So as a result, not much has prevailed the time, but of course there's a lot of, like, I don't know, signs and everything that explain how this worked. And actually, I mean, this one here looks like quite nostalgic, like single worker or maybe just two working on these things. But in reality, if you go back in the days, at least over here in Germany, Black Forest, like they had of these piles like dozens, and it was almost like on industrial scale how they produced charcoal. But anyhow, I'm really looking forward to this one. And then BlueBrixx has announced quite a bunch of extensions for their new Bierrock Castle lineup. That is an extendable castle. So I think they have a picture here. These are all, so there is an original castle, and then they had, I mean, I think I talked about this in the past, and then they have now a ton of extensions. Like, I think overall it's like 5 or 6 sets that they have announced at this point. None of those is actually yet available on the market, but I think it's a castle more like in the traditional Lego castle design from the 80s and 90s, includes panels and everything, and it's extensible, which is amazing. I mean, this is what we would have loved to have in the 80s and 90s. But so I think it's interesting for those people who are interested, or let's say a bit nostalgic about these old castles and maybe don't want to invest $400 in the new Lego castle. Or of course, it's an amazing piece for kids, because I think it's simple, it can be easily built by kids, and it can be extended. So even, if you have a large family and everybody wants to, have a present for the kids, this thing could be awesome. Anyhow, I've talked about this castle in the past. I think if you go down here under related sets, you can, for instance, see here the keep, and then let's say the basic castle. They call it, actually, it's German, Grundburg. That's basically the fundamental castle it all starts with. As said, it's also this initial one is not yet on the market, but yeah, it's quite a lot of extensions, and they have announced 4 additional ones. So let's go through them one by one. The 105650, that's the gatehouse, 962 pieces, and it's designed by Marco like all the others. And as I said before, you can integrate this with the other pieces. It's quite a nice gatehouse. And I mean, like I said, it's not like Blaustein Castle. Blaustein Castle's, I think, clearly designed for the grown-up market, for people who also want to have, let's say, historical accuracy, complex techniques. Almost, I mean, Blaustein Castle is almost like a gigantic mock, also from the building techniques point of view. This one here is straightforward, like, as I said, like Lego in the old days. No tiles, no complex, not techniques, just a castle. Anyhow, next extension is the 105652, the Palisade. The Palisade is quite interesting. It has 1011 pieces on its own. And it has also, if you look at it, it's also made out of a lot of components. So in theory, you could, I think, even combine multiple of those into your castle. And there's the interesting one, right? We are not talking about, and again, that is again a big difference to Blaustein Castle. These extensions are on their own. You can buy multiple of them, right? I mean, you could build in theory, also if you go back at the gatehouse, you could build a gigantic castle that has like, I don't know, 5 gatehouses. You could even extend this castle to be more like a walled settlement, if you will, right? And put buildings in the center. It's amazing what you can do with this. And here, even with the palisade, I mean, it depends on if you're if this all of this reddish brown goodness is your cup of tea, but you can of course use it to extend a brick built or stone built castle like BlueBrixx is showing in this example, but you can also build a gigantic walled settlement, like a walled Viking settlement, for instance, just using this palisade one. Or as like they are showing on this picture here, you know, this could be the starting point for your kit. I assume it will be a bit cheaper than the Beer Rock Castle on its own. So, and plus from a historical point of view, I mean, all of the modern castles, medieval castles, originally started like walled settlements with wooden walls, right? So first of all, it could be a good starting point if you're looking for, you know, small start to figure out if your kit, for instance, is liking these. Plus, also from a historical standpoint, you could start like this and then, you know, add stone built walls later on. So there's a ton of opportunity here, and for me that is what brick building is all about, and that's why I love this series so much, and I'm looking forward to it, because yeah, it has a ton of potential, I think. Anyhow, next extension is the Smith. That's actually a pretty small one, the 105653, 359 pieces. And by the way, I should mention, as always, when BlueBrixx is announcing sets, compared, for instance, to LEGO, they are not announcing any prices. The pricing usually comes with the availability of the set. However, on average, buildings like these and in this BlueBrixx Special series is like usually like 4 cents a piece, roughly plus minus 10%, including tax over here in Europe. So yeah, do your math. This thing I assume will be a 15 euro set. And then we have the Beer Rock Castle Wall extension. That's the 105654, 421 pieces. Again, I assume this will be somewhere between 15 to 20 bucks, maybe 17, 18. And of course, you can again buy multiple ones of those. However, I mean, all of them are quite detailed. So they have flags on it, or weapon, or shrine, or a small room, maybe something like a keep. That of course, if you buy like half a dozen of those, you get quite a you get a ton of detail that you may not want, right? So that's what I'm missing a bit. What I would actually love if they also create a wall piece where without all the details, just straightforward, simple, clean wall. That's what I'm a bit missing here, but nevertheless, I mean, it is a nice extension, and again, you can buy of these as many as you want. I mean, in series, you know, you can fill your entire room with this castle, if that is your thing. Anyhow, let's move on. Then they have announced a locomotive, the BR 103 in red. BR is German Baureihe. So that's a class of electric locomotives over here in Germany that has been built in the early 70s, between 70 and 74. It has been in its time kind of the electric flagship of the German Bundesbahn. And it could do up to 200 kilometers an hour. And I remember as a kid, I was seeing these a lot, actually with a different color scheme back in the day. I think this red color scheme was like in the late days of its lifetime, which actually ended at the end of the 90s, 1997 until 2003. They went out of service. But yeah, back in the day, in the 80s, you saw these a lot. This was basically the train that was driving all the intercity trains over here in Germany. And yeah, you saw these a lot. It was like the workhorse of the German Bundesbahn. Anyhow, this one is a 6-stud wide train. BlueBrixx has basically is doing both, so both 6 and 8 stud trains. This locomotive here has 727 pieces. It's 36 centimeters length. BlueBrixx is saying it's 15 width. That obviously is wrong, so that's a mistake on their side. Let me just double check. Yeah, yeah, none of these numbers make any sense. Yeah, they're basically saying it has a width of 152 millimeters. That is definitely wrong. Anyhow, here you go. You have the BR103, and it's a German electric locomotive, a true classic. Then you have a couple of rail cars that are in the white and red printing that you can see here, that also the German Bundesbahn had back in the day. So I think these two rail cars that I'm going to show you now are basically accompanying this locomotive. Obviously, you can use them on your own. So this is the end one. And it's the one we're talking about, the 105660 from BlueBrixx, 495 pieces. It's roughly 41 centimeters in length, 6 width and 9 height, and 6 centimeters width makes a ton of sense. Again, 6 stud train. And then you have the passenger car. Obviously, you can buy of those as many as you want. 437 pieces. We are talking about the 105659, similar in size. All of this stuff is designed, so both the locomotive and the rail car and the passenger car, they are all designed by Eugen from the BlueBrixx team. And then we have a couple of availabilities also in the train section. Let's get started. So the Geiltal Railway BR2043, also a locomotive. I think this is a diesel one originally. So Geiltalbahn is in Austria in the Alps, and that is a train that communes between Arnoldstein and Hermagor. I just reading in my notes here, it's electric rail, but I don't know, this thing looks like a diesel locomotive. I'm actually not sure if this one is diesel or electrified. Anyhow, it's a very famous and well-known, I guess, a locomotive that was cruising in the Alps back in its day. 760 pieces does this model have. It is actually by the Geiltalbahn Association designed. At least BlueBrixx is listing them as designers. All in all, back in the day, BlueBrixx announced 4 sets, so they have 3 rail cars and the locomotive. So if Alps mountains is your cup of tea, if you're building right on a scenario of the Alps, especially of course of the German Alps, German-Austrian Alps, then I think this might be the perfect locomotive for you. BlueBrixx is asking for 36 euros. That makes 4.7 cents a piece. Again, as always, including tax. Really looking forward to this one, I think. I mean, I'm not the big train guy, but I do hope to see pictures, people building these alt dioramas and then having this train in there. And they also have the first railroad car for this one, the Schlierenwagen or Schlieren 2935. So again, that's an Austrian rail car that fits to that locomotive. However, Schlieren is actually a city in Switzerland, and the reason why they are called Schlierenwagen in Austria is because they were licensed from the Swiss, let's say, standard rail car, I think it was called. That's the best translation. And the company that was handing out the licenses is actually located in the city of Schlieren in Switzerland. So that's the reason why they're called Schlieren. But anyhow, this piece here at this thing here is 759 pieces, and it is 33 euros. That's 4.3 cents a piece. Available at BlueBrixx now. The other 2 Schlierenwagen are not yet available, so looking forward to this as well. And then we have the BlueBrixx BR642. That is a train that is driving around over here in Germany. BR, again, Baureihe in Germany. 1,618 pieces. We are talking about the 105078 from BlueBrixx, available for 70 euros. That's roughly 4.3 cents a piece, as always, including tax. And then we have the first availability of the Pirate Island series of BlueBrixx. That is actually a new thing that they are actually starting. So I don't know, I've not prepared this, but if you're interested, let's briefly go through this. So as you can see, they have also, this is again a new series with a lot of extensions available. And they have announced basically 2 lines. One is they call Pirate Island, and the other one Governor's Island. So it's a typical, right, soldiers against pirates that we see in, I don't know, so many movies, but also, of course, is kind of the theme back in the day in the LEGO Pirates areas. So BlueBrixx is doing the same thing. And it's again extensible with a wide range of extensions. And all of these sets have been announced in the past. So I don't know, let's maybe briefly go for Pirate Island and let's drill down into this one. So Pirate Island, I don't know why I find this here. Anyhow, so they have the treasure cave announced. Then they have the island with hideout announced. And I think, was there an extension as well? No, I think there was no small extension module. So you have these big modules, and both of them are a modular on their own. So you can buy, I guess, multiple of those. So let's maybe I have a picture here. Yeah, basically you can see this here like this. So in theory, they're all modular. So you can build multiple of those or arrange them in a different way, shape, or form. All of this is just an announcement state right now, but now we have the first thing that is available, which is actually the smallest one by far. We are talking about the 105129. It has only 318 pieces, and BlueBrixx is asking for 15 euros, including tax, 4.7 cents a piece. And yeah, I mean, it's a tiny island and a tiny raft, but it might be a nice present for kids, for instance, right? Or it might be just your starting point. And also, if you have never never had a BlueBrixx set before, this could also be an interesting one to figure out if the piece quality, etc., is acceptable to you. I mean, usually these BlueBrixx specials, the piece quality, usually they have either Kuan Long pieces in it, or sometimes also GoBrixx, especially in the Blausteinkastel ones. There's obviously a big difference in piece quality. So before, invest going big, buying, I don't know, the ships and everything, it could be interesting to buy such a small set just to figure out if this is, your cup of tea. I should also mention, of course, that BlueBrixx Pro sets are usually Xingbao pieces. So the problem is BlueBrixx is never putting this on the box, so you never really know what's in there. But mostly it's Kuan Long pieces in BlueBrixx Specials, mostly Xingbao and BlueBrixx Pros, and sometimes, for instance, the Blausteinkastel, it is also GoBrixx. But yeah, you never know. BlueBrixx is actually, and they do this so they could switch, piece vendors every minute if they want to. So there's no guarantees whatsoever. All right, another availability, and actually this set I have already lying around over here, just arrived this morning. The Medieval House is available, the next bigger set, if you will, or mid-size set in the medieval space. It's a 105009, 1430 pieces. It's a house, it's 28 by 33 centimeters, 18 centimeters height. However, it has been designed by Marco from the BlueBrixx design team, not by Martin, who has done, as I've mentioned before, most of the medieval sets in the past. Anyhow, I'm really looking forward to this one. Marco has done a couple of amazing designs that I've already built in the past, so I'm really looking forward to his, let's say, addition to the series. BlueBrixx is asking for 60 euros. That's 4.2 cents a piece. I should mention I actually had to update the piece count. There is a big in the past, BlueBrixx claimed that this set would have slightly below 1,600 pieces. And now they say on the homepage 1,430. However, the box is again talking about 1,500 something, like in the 1580s. So I have no idea. Obviously, I'm not going to count them by hand. However, on my site, setdb.org, I will use the number that they currently have on their homepage because I do assume it's the most accurate. But I should say that the box is claiming more pieces. Then we have the gym is now available. So that's part of the new modular series that BlueBrixx has started. Most of the designs are coming from the designer Kai, not related to me. It's a 2,862 pieces, so it's a full-blown modular 25 by 25.5 centimeters, so it's like on a regular base plate as always. And yeah, I think it's the third modular that they've made available. The corner bar is I think went I don't know when did it became available, like last week or the week before. The modern house is already available for quite some time. The corner bar I have actually standing around over here as well, just no time yet to build it. Actually, so personally, I'm not going to build the gym. I think it's an amazing design, but I already have the corner bar here, and quite frankly, I have more sets laying around here than I can actually build right now. But nevertheless, I think it's a nice series, and with 4.2 cents a piece, I think also a pretty good price. Again, if the piece quality is sufficient to you. Then we have, out of the construction site series, we have another availability, the compressor road roller 104870, 254 pieces, 15 euros. That's 6 cents a piece, which is, so that's slightly higher than the buildings. I mean, not slightly, it's plus 50%. That is quite normal, actually. Many of the, both the road cars and vehicles as well as train cars are usually more in this ballpark, 5 to 6 cents a piece. Buildings usually around 4. Nowadays used to be in the low 3 cent area also back in the day. Anyhow, also available the 105034 truck with construction container. Again, same series, 413 pieces, designed by Eugen, slightly below 5 cents a piece, 20 euros. And then we have a bigger car. This is actually like, I don't know, 12 studs wide. It is 13 by 30 centimeters, so that's not a small one. It's a bit like, I guess, a creator expert icons cars that LEGO is doing. This one here has 1,104 pieces. BlueBrixx usually is not going into any licensing deals with manufacturers, so this is just called classic off-road 4x4. I guess it's a Land Rover. I'm not really the car kind of guy, but I think that is a classic Land Rover. Anyhow, BlueBrixx is asking for 48 euros. That's 4.3 cents a piece. And then one of the Second World War dioramas is now available as well. The D-Day diorama, obviously, we're talking about the French beach, the 104552, 3,639 pieces. That's not a small one. Designed by Marco, 150 euros. That's 4.1 cents a piece. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of these. First of all, the simple reality is Cobi is doing a lot better vehicles usually, so that's why personally, and actually BlueBrixx is also a big online retailer over here in Europe, and they are a big Cobi partner. So from my point of view, and I've said this in the past, I would prefer if they would focus on the pure diorama aspect, and then people would put, their Cobi tanks in there, because they're just so much better. And I think a lot of folks who are interested in this kind of thing, they have already, like, I guess many of them dozens of Cobi tanks, lying around. But of course, Cobi is not doing any landscaping dioramas and stuff. So that would be the perfect marriage if BlueBrixx could provide, with their cheap pieces and cheap prices, large scale dioramas. And then of course you put your Cobi vehicles in there. But anyhow, they decided to put a Jeep in there and a tank. The second thing that I don't like about this specific one, that of course from a historical point of view, it's completely unrealistic. The Allies were not landing tanks like this under fire. That came a lot later, but of course this diorama is showing it like this. I mean, of course it looks like a bit more action-packed, but it's just historically not accurate. You would not try to land a Sherman under fire like this. That makes no sense. But obviously you can fix this quite easily. Just remove these grenade impacts or whatever this is supposed to be here with the bushes, whatever. Anyhow, speaking of Cobi has done 2 quick announcements on their Instagram, or teasers, I should rather say, on their Instagram channel. So first of all, they have announced or hinted at or teasered 1 to 35 scale Abrams tank, M1A2, with desert painting from Operation Iraqi Freedom. And what they have also done is, and I'm not sure what I've done here, and what they have also announced, they have given us a bit more detail. I think I talked about the Pennsylvania class battleship already last week. So now we have a few more details. We have a release date. It's November 14th. This thing will have 2,100 pieces. This is an information I did not have last week. And we also can see that the executive edition will be a 2-in-1, similar to what we have seen from the Iowa, which was actually 4-in-1. But here now you can basically, usually that means you have the tiles and everything to switch between USS Arizona and USS Pennsylvania. Really looking forward to this one. Definitely want to build it. All right, that was already Cobi. I mean, they have here on the Instagram channel already a few more information. For instance, for this M1A2 I just talked about, they also want to build a Polish army version. This is the one I just showed you before, and all of these are gonna come like mid-end November. They will have a new Corsair with 511 pieces. The F-35, I think I talked about this one before. I think there's going to be a British or US Air Force and Royal Air Force, no, Polish Air Force version. And yeah, I think that's about it. So a lot of interesting Cobi stuff is going to be coming in November timeframe. All right, let's move on to LEGO. LEGO, of course, has announced the ideas Tischkicker or foosball table or soccer table or football table, whatever you want to call this. I'm actually not sure why I still have Tischkicker, because that's how we call it over here in Germany. So I might not, so the SETB might not be up to date. This might be the German variant, but anyhow, it's, I mean, the set is the same for sure. This one will have 2,339 pieces. Release date is 1st of November, 22 minifigures. So it's like it has 2 full soccer teams, and I think something in the ballpark of slightly more than 40 head pieces and hair pieces. So yeah, it's designed by Antika Brakhanov. I'm pretty sure I pronounced this wrongly. She has is usually, I think, a French designer over in the LEGO team. However, she has also done the Ideas Home Alone, to my knowledge. So quite interesting. And this, I think, was an amazing set. So however, this one here, of course, I mean, if you go to the original ideas entry, by the way, everything that I'm showing you here, all the pages, obviously not the Cobi Instagram, are pages on setb.org. All the links to the individual pages you will find both in the podcast show notes as well as for your YouTube viewers in the YouTube video description down below. And in the setb site, you will always see also links to the designer and what the designer has done in parallel to the set we are talking about, but also in case of ideas, a link to the original ideas entry. And as you can see, this was a completely different soccer table because it was full scale, while this one is a greatly reduced version. And I mean, there has been a ton of discussion, I guess, already, a lot of controversy around this set because that is obviously not what people were expecting. To my knowledge, the LEGO team had some struggle to get this done the way they wanted. Okay, I assume that the whole problem was around the axles, and because of course LEGO does not have so long axles, and what is even worse, I think, is that compared to many of their competitors, LEGO is still using axles that are completely out of plastic, so there's no carbon axles in there, which of course is that what most other companies use nowadays, but LEGO still has these old wobbly plastic ones that are quite soft, and I guess this is what their problems were all around. In general though, I do really like this table. I mean, the design is nice, it looks very sturdy, so obviously LEGO had in mind that you would actually use these to play, which is great. But I mean, I think, I mean, if you go through the LEGO related media, everybody's talking about the size. And yes, I'm also in the group of people who say, okay, I would have loved this thing. And I mean, I don't even need to have it full scale, but this is definitely too small for my taste. The other more interesting question is though, like for a table, a soccer table like this, do you really want to pay $250? And I guess LEGO tried to make it up by putting all these minifigures in, putting this gigantic selection of hats in. I think there are a couple of numbers somewhere. Yeah, it's like 44 hats. and 43 hair pieces. I actually don't know why they differ. I guess there's also a head in there who doesn't need hair. Anyhow, and it's a great selection, and we are not talking about yellow hats. So we are talking about head pieces that are in regular colors, like in true skin colors, that usually are only part of licensed sets. So I guess they tried to make up by putting this amazing setup in there. And obviously, if you're into sports, into soccer specifically, you might also consider this set like a minifigure battle pack for soccer players. So if that is your thing, awesome, great, but I don't know. For me, in the center should still be the soccer table itself. And here, I must say, LEGO is not really delivering. But anyhow, let's see how this thing goes on the market. Maybe prices will come down dramatically, at least over here in Europe. There are many, there have been idea sets in the past who went down or that you were able to buy with a lot of discount. So I don't know, if this thing goes, let's say, below 200, in the 170, 180 space ballpark, then I guess I may consider it. Anyhow, let's move on to another very interesting announcement. Actually, I'm a bit late. This was already published by the LEGO Group 28th of September. And that is, of course, numbers. And what can I say? Revenue grew 17%, consumer sales grew 13%. So that's amazing, because that was, for me, the big question, 2022, like post-COVID. I mean, I guess not in every country the same, but at least over here in Europe, I mean, you know, LEGO, the brick industry in general, I guess it was also true for Cobi and everybody. Everything was going crazy. You could see the same thing on YouTube and everywhere. Like, people had a lot of time. Very often they also had a lot of money because they couldn't spend it on, I don't know, travel and stuff. So they invested into LEGO sets. So LEGO was doing extremely well during the COVID years. And obviously a lot of people, including myself, were asking themselves the question, like, is this run now over? Well, turns out it is not. However, the operating profit was stable. Obviously, LEGO, and we'll come to that in a second, is investing like crazy. Plus, like, and in 2 new manufacturing sites, for instance, they are investing in their whole new digital strategy. You remember, or you might have known, I've talked about it at least in the German podcast, not yet in the English one, that they have this big collaboration now with Epic Games. So obviously they are investing and they're using the cash flow, right, to move the company forward. Plus, of course, prices are going nuts over here in Europe, at least, and obviously this is taking their toll on LEGO as well. But anyhow, they managed to keep the profit stable, and they have a lot of growth. Another couple of interesting information, that is an information they usually give as part of the numbers as well, like what were the top themes. It was, and actually I do not know if these are like in size order, but at least the top themes have been Star Wars, Technic, Icons, City, Harry Potter, and Friends. I was personally a bit surprised that Ninjago is still not in there. I would have, for instance, thought that Ninjago would be like in front of Harry Potter and Friends, but I don't know. LEGO is not calling it out. Maybe finally, after the LEGO Group has tried so many times to come up with a successor of Ninjago, but maybe, I don't know, maybe Ninjago is beyond its time, beyond its prime, I should rather say. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm still a big fan of Ninjago, but obviously it's not doing that well anymore internationally. Speaking of investments, like I said, 2 manufacturing sites, but they continue also to invest into their stores. They opened up 66 new stores. And again, we're just talking about first half of 2022, right? That's a large number. The overall number is now 833. However, 66 just in 6 months, that's a lot. And 46 of these were in China. So LEGO, I mean, they're getting more competition out of China nowadays, but they are moving in quite strongly as well. Very interesting. Like I said, they have also keep investing in what they call their digital office. So they raised the staff by 30% in the first 6 months. And they are committed over the next 3 years to triple the size to 1,800 people. So LEGO is going strong on the digital side. All of what I just talked about is, you can see here also in this graphic that they put out. By the way, also the link to this announcement is in the description and podcast show notes down below. And like I said, 2 new factories, one in the US, one in Vietnam. So yeah, LEGO is going strong, and it seems that the whole industry is doing quite well. Another small thing before we move into new ideas entries, LEGO has started a new ideas challenge, 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I couldn't be more happy around this announcement. I mean, I have no idea how well this set is going to be that is coming out of this, but as a kid of the 80s, I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons fan, a huge fan, I should rather say, and a big LEGO fan. So these things coming together, that LEGO managed to get an agreement with Hasbro here as well. I mean, this is something I really, really hope for, considering that they have Optimus now, Optimus Prime set. So that they also have now an agreement around Dungeons and Dragons is amazing. I mean, there is so much stuff in Wizards of the Coast, if you will, to look at this from a broader perspective. So that LEGO is collaborating with them is just a great message to me. Obviously, it could just mean we are seeing one set and that's it. But, I can still hope. Anyhow, it is a typical challenge. So right now they have an idea intake, then you will have expert view, crowd vote, and then a winner announcement by end of this year. And I guess we will see then maybe the set end of 2023, something like that. I'm so looking forward to this. And all of you designers out there, please go ahead and do amazing pieces, because I want this to be the coolest set of 2023. There are, by the way, a lot of interesting rumors around Lord of the Rings coming back to LEGO next year. So this, for all of us high fantasy fans, this is going to be great. I'm so looking forward to this. Anyhow, let's move to regular LEGO Ideas entries, and we have 4 new designs that reach the 10,000 supporter. And 10,000 supporters. And what you can see here first is the sewer heroes fighting the Fatberg. This is a great piece. I mean, I've talked about these in the past. I'm a big fan of this entire concept of having your brick city and having the sewers, the cellars, and all this kind of stuff below. I mean, obviously, most of us are not doing this, right? We usually start, on ground level. But I'm in general a huge fan of that idea. And I think all of these ideas entries, and actually we'll have a second one today, and we have seen a lot of these before. They showed so well how great this could be. And here we have the sewer team that is trying to get rid of the Fatberg. Actually, there's a ton of text in this ideas entry. So the author or designer of this entry, took the time talking about that problem of Fatbergs and all of us throwing stuff in the toilet and such that don't belong there. Actually, what I did learn out of this text, I did notice that there have been Fatbergs in the past, like 100 tons in weight and 100 meters long, so it's really crazy. And however, we have this entry now, so we have this small building. It's like a 6-stud building or so, like a typical children's set from LEGO. But we have a cellar, we have the sewers, of course, we have the Fatberg, but we also, you can basically take a look like how is this all, connected. And, where is the water coming from and where's the Fatberg coming from that is in the sewer? So I think from an education standpoint, it's an amazing set. And I would really love to see this one realized by LEGO. However, it does not have a license. It is not... I mean, it's a building at the end of the day, right? This is a set that you would maybe expect more from the Icons or Creator Expert series, but nevertheless, and it's compatible with the new LEGO Road system, which is a small bonus as well. So I would love to have this one, but maybe more like a menu that you can buy on Rebrickable compared to LEGO Ideas, because I'm not sure if LEGO's going to do this one. Similar direction goes this one here by LEGO Overwatch. Lego Overwatch, whatever. It's called London Underground, and the name says what it is. You see a typical London Underground, including a train station, of course. And the idea is similar, right? You're seeing the underground. You get a peek at the underground. Actually, we had several of these ideas entries in the past, especially around undergrounds. Also sewer packages, I think, cellar ones. So we had this a lot, but again, LEGO is not really covering this idea or this concept that you're not starting on ground level. But I really like this one. It's quite, I mean, if you look on the inside of the building, obviously that has not been in focus for the designer, but rather the focus has been on the underground. But nevertheless, I like the building. What I really like about the building, especially, the designer used a ton of masonry bricks, which is not an easy feat, because very often if you use too many masonry bricks, it looks like garbage, if you ask me. But here the designer did an amazing job of having the exact, from my point of view, perfect right amount of masonry bricks, tiles, windows, etc., that it looks like the masonry building. But again, this sounds simple because you just use masonry bricks and then you have a masonry building, but actually not. I mean, I've tried this myself. I mean, if you build a huge wall just from masonry bricks, it really looks like garbage. But here the designer did an amazing job. However, I would have wished that the interior would be a bit more detailed. But again, I mean, if LEGO would ever do it, I'm pretty sure it would be half the size. And maybe they would put a bit more interior into the inside. All right, let's move on to the James Webb Space Telescope, the JWST. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but anyhow. I mean, yeah, LEGO has done a ton of space stuff, and especially also in Ideas, but also I think the space shuttle was in Icon's Creator Expert, right? But they have done, of course, the Apollo, they have done Saturn V rocket, so I think this would fit quite well. Obviously, they would not use this ridiculous amount of chrome that this designer here has done. But anyhow, nevertheless, I think it's a great piece. I assume LEGO would do it maybe in half the size and obviously not use chrome, but it would be great from my point of view if they would honor this gigantic scientific accomplishment, or engineering and scientific accomplishment, of that telescope and what it stands for, right? It's like the International Space Station, which we already, by the way, also have from LEGO. So it would be great to have this one. Personally, I'm even fine. I mean, it could even be nice to do a James Webb telescope in a very small scale, like in a gift with purchase or something like that. That is to scale to the ISS model that they have already done. I would even like that, but I think this telescope owns to have a LEGO set. So yeah, let's see if this goes. This design, by the way, is from Tony's My Uncle. Great name, by the way. And it has 10,000 supporters. The same way as the last but not least design we're talking about today, the Cipher Machine by Norris. And it has 10,000 supporters, like I said. And it is, yeah, you can basically cipher and decipher, and it's actually working. I'm really these are real pictures. So actually nowadays, most ideas entries are just coming out of a digital like studio or something like that. But this one here is actual pictures. But I'm pretty sure this is not a goal that LEGO has ever done like this. So I guess it has been sprayed or lacquered by the designer, which is amazing to do this here for this design entry. Like it's all handmade, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I would love to have such a mechanical device in LEGO bricks. I would love LEGO to do all this Technic stuff in Pearl Gold. I mean, that would be amazing. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. So I guess I would rather use, I don't know, dark bluish gray or something. But anyhow, amazing design, and it actually works, which I think is always great. All right, that is already the show for this week. It has been quite long, I think. I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners, please leave a review, comment, or like on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thanks for listening. See you next week.